Hey guys, Greg from Tales with the Pythian, and I'm back with another video. This time we're going back to Shadowdark RPG. If you remember, if you've watched the previous videos from about a month ago, I was doing some prep work for a Shadowdark game that I run. I'm running the Cursed Scrolls. Have been running them straight from the PDFs into Foundry, and I know that other people have done videos on this already, but I just wanted to show off the book, man, because I finally got my rewards in the mail shortly after the video is posted. So this is the limited edition green covered book. It's very cool. I love the size. Here's my hand for comparison. It's like, I don't know, it's like Bible size, if you will, right? It's very handy, very nice cardstock like pages, and it even has a page marker built into it. So anyway, we're running the Cursed Scroll 1 in Foundry VTT for a group of 6 players. It is a hex crawl, little mini hex crawl. It's built, they're designed, the Cursed Scrolls are designed to like be able to be plugged into your existing world if you've got one, or to run as a mini campaign setting. I'm doing the latter. I'm running it as a mini campaign setting. I've kind of stuffed it into a world that does not exist, if you will, just to run it. You know, I wanted to play it, and I love it, and my players love it. It's a pretty killer system. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I'm really looking forward to doing more with it in the future when we get kind of through this little deal. So what are we going to do today? I'm going to give you a little rundown of what happened before. So and then we'll talk about what's coming up next. Keep that kind of brief. I don't have anything spectacular to show you prep wise, which I'll explain in a minute, but I do want to focus a little bit of time on some of the improvements they've made to the Shadowdark system inside of Foundry, and also some of the things that are in there, some of the tools that maybe you might not know about, that can make life a little bit easier for you if you're looking to run it inside of Foundry. So first off, I think the last time that we were here together, I was preparing the bandit camp, which is, I believe, Hex 509, called the Outlaw Camp in Cursed Scrolls, and we're getting it kind of ready. My players were in Woodland, which is Hex 307, and they were going to travel to the bandit camp. I think I may have mentioned in that same previous video that I had done some preparation for Hex 106, which is called Woodland Cottage, which is where an NPC by the name of Drusilla lives. And Drusilla is a wield hag who has disguised herself as a young healer and is going to Wardenwood and offering to, or claiming to be assisting them in cleansing the town of a disease that's run rampant called rot fever, when in reality she is the cause of the rot fever. I took a very old school fantasy trope, or maybe even you might call it a nursery rhyme trope, or something along those lines, and she's poisoning the well, right? So she's been poisoning the well. Well, I prepped that, and I also prepped, under the well, and they went straight by it. They didn't have any interest in it at all. They were going to go to the bandit camp, as players will do in the game. They changed their mind again, and they decided that something's going on with that healer Drusilla. They started putting pieces together. They were all kind of talking for about, 15 or 20 minutes in town in the inn. A pretty good role play, and they said, hey, we're going to go see if we can find where this Drusilla lives. They went and talked to Matilda Bauer, who is the elder of the town, found out where this woman lived, and then they went to her abode. So they went to the Woodland Cottage. This was a pretty straightforward map that I put together. I used Baileywiki assets to do this. Again, you guys have heard me talk about Baileywiki assets before. You should go and use them. Also, they've got a new video out this week. You should go and watch if you're interested in any of the Matt's tile stuff I did, Monk's Active Tile Triggers. They have a really good video that they released. It's only about 15 or 20 minutes long. You should go check it out. I'll link them down below. But the idea here was it was supposed to be simple. I did not know if they were going to encounter Drusilla here or not. I hadn't decided because that moment had kind of left me, right, when they were planning to go somewhere else. However, I had it prepped, so I was ready to go, right? When it was very interesting how it transpired. So it's just a very simple setup. I'll click on this pig in here. Some Baileywiki assets smushed together. They overlap very well, as they tend to do. I dropped some props in there using item piles, which I've talked about in the past. I might do a little like how-to video on that here in the future. But it basically consisted of like a lore drop, like a note kind of, or a diary rather, that kind of gave away or gave some insight into what Drusilla had going on. There was some treasure, that sort of thing. And then they ended up leaving. They did not encounter Drusilla here. I had the loot back here in this little chest. But you see off here to the side, we have this like kind of point of interest going on, and they never found it. They never went back here. And I don't feel like I have the walls set up crazy. You can see I do have them set up to where the bushes, like you would have to specifically walk over here, but they never did. And as you can see, had they might find it very curious that there is a circle of mushrooms, here off to the side of the house. The other stuff that you see, we're on the GM side of the world, they wouldn't see. They wouldn't see the light nor the symbol on the ground there. I have that set up on a button, just to double click, and it turns it on, and it turns it off. And yeah, they didn't go over there. And then I have Drusilla here, and just in case that she would have been needed. So they found this information, and they know now that Drusilla is indeed a hag. They know that she is indeed up to a nefarious plot, and that she is using her herbalism abilities to cause the rot fever, which has the effect of making people die, when in reality they're not really dying. The ones that are chosen fall into a pretty deep torpor, and then they are dug back up after they are buried, and they are transferred to another NPC that I'm going to keep a mystery for a little bit here, just in case. Anyway, so then they're off to town. So when they get to town, what I anticipate will happen in the next game is that they will go back. They're going to go back to Woodland, and they're going to go and they're going to discover the well, right? So the well, I did this similar to a map I think I might have shown in the very first video, which dealt with the Shattered Tower. This is a Dyson Logos map as a base, and then I used Forgotten Adventures assets to kind of build the map into a more, aesthetic style that I like to play with. Nothing wrong with Dyson Logos, right? Just downloading them and running them. They're wonderful maps. They're awesome and amazing, and I love them. But I like a different, I like a little bit of a artistic style, little 3D-ish pop to it. So anyway, I built it out. And then the water tiles, they're just tiles that have an effect applied to them. And of course, because we're operating with squares, that's why we see, water to the outside. If there was a player in here, let me see. Let me pull Elishore in here. So you can see no matter where they go, we've got the walls in place. So to them, it's just going to look like a natural cavern that has, water at the bottom of it. This is the base of the well that they can come down, right? So got some glowing mushrooms. This kind of adds to the poison. This is how the wheeled hag is poisoning the well. She's used her herbalism and magic to create these fungal growths that grow under the water, and then they poison it, right? And then I have some encounters that are down here. We have the giant leech, which is from the core book. And then over here we have some mutant catfish, which is from the cursed scroll. And just some areas to explore. There's not a lot to find out here. And then basically back here we have I don't want to call it a lair because her house is her lair, but this is kind of like a base of operations for her under the town. This is where she meets with the other NPC, where they exchange the bodies of those tortured victims and do some of their deeds. We have a similar circle. This is how she can move between the two places. There's actually going to be a third one of these in another location that allows these two individuals to move between their locations and meet here. Also set up on a button over here that just turns on and off as needed. And yeah, and then in the back here, I'm still working out. I don't know if I'm going to make this available immediately or not, but this is going to be a shrine to Shun the vial. And I know the basic gist of what I want to do out here with the stalagmites and stalactites, but I can't decide if I want Drusilla to be a devout of Shun the Vile, or if I just want this to be a coincidence. So caught in two minds, if you will, but that's okay. That happens. But I will have that sussed prior to the game time for sure. So anyway, this is kind of where it's going for the next game. Very simple. I will be adding some traps using Monk's tiles out here just to keep things interesting. Maybe one out here and a couple in here, because hell, if I was a wheeled hack, I would want to protect my my base of operations. So anyway, that's kind of where we were and where we're going to. Bandit Camp, as you can see, is off the table for the moment. They've kind of put a hold on that, but I'm sure it will be coming in the future. And then the last thing I did is I did a couple of I was looking to do like a random encounter style map. Again, I'm using Baileywiki assets because you can do a lot fast. So I took a base map of theirs and I made some alterations. So this is what I intend when I do hit a random encounter during travel. Right over here, this is a cave entrance. And what I did, it's a tile. Cave entrance is a tile. And then what I did is I applied vines to it. And again, this is all available in the Baileywiki modules, right? And a couple other modules that play there. We're using the Ripper's macro wheel and that sort of thing. But I think I threw this together literally in 5 minutes. The same with the rest of these. They're just pretty straightforward. So that's what I have going on. Coming up for Friday, actually, this game is Friday. I wanted to be a little bit farther with the well portion, but I had a very busy week at work this week. You guys know how that goes, and it just didn't happen. But to the most important stuff. So recently there have been some pretty cool updates to the Shadowdark system and some news. So as you know, Shadowdark was created by Kelsey Dion of Arcane Library. I'm a member of the Discord channel over there, and in the Foundry development portion, recently, about a month or so ago, she came in there and she basically said that she intends to make the entire core book available through Foundry. So if you play it right now, you know that it's actually the quick start guide. It's not the full book. So everything that's in here is not inside of Foundry. So if you want something that's not in there, that's outside of the starter set, but in here you have to manually put it in. That includes monsters, spells, all that sort of stuff. So that is very exciting. To that end, they have already started making moves to prepare for that, which I think is pretty cool. So anyway, if you're playing Shadowdark, or if you want to play Shadowdark, and if maybe having only the quick start rules in it has put you off, let me show you a couple of the tools that are inside of the system that kind of help facilitate making things easier, right? So first of all, at a base level, if you're not comfortable with modules, which I know some people aren't, they like to run, just Foundry, maybe they're not very technical or whatever. Inside of Foundry, if you go over to your compendium packs over here on the top right, and you go to your Shadowdark system, and then you look down here under macros, and you click the macros, and it opens up this dialog. Right down here, you're going to see this one. It says Open Monster Importer. So this is very cool. It tells you right here in the top that this macro can be used to open the monster importer. So let's just execute the macro. Boom. Here's the monster importer. And then it gives you some instructions. It just tells you to copy monster text from source material. So you need the PDF, right? Paste that text into the text box, and you follow the format just like it shows. So let's do that, right? I got a PDF open right here. And we're going to do, let's do an Ichor ooze. How about that? So let me just get it copied. Copy. So I'll come down in here and I'm going to paste it. So we just look at the format. So we have the description. We got to add the name. So that's just Shift Enter. And this is called an Ichor ooze. Let's capitalize that O. Ichor ooze, and then we have the description: a trembling mass of filmy bile that slurps toward warmth. And that's the flavor text. And then the main stat block, which is from here to here, right? And then feature 1, which is rubbery, and the information. And then we need to add just a space here. And then feature 2, right? And that's it. We hit import monster and look right over here. Ichor ooze. There we've got it. It's at the name. It's going to have the flavor text, everything that we need right there. It creates the monster and we're good to go. And this has been in there, I think, almost from the get-go, right? So very cool. And you're up and running with the monster. And if you want to add another one independently, you just come in here and you do it again. You can just keep on doing it. The other cool thing is that you can import a character from Shadowdarklings. Now, they have just recently added a create character functionality into Shadowdark itself. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. If you use Shadowdarklings, you have access to all of the core book, the Bard and the Ranger, all the curse scrolls, unnatural selection, and other third-party content over there that you can create a character from. Okay, I believe the intention here is that inside of Shadowdark, you're going to be able to do that same thing as those modules get added. If I'm correct in my thinking, like the curse scrolls will be created, but they'll be created as modules that can be turned on. I don't know that they're actually going to be put into the core system, because it's my understanding as well that the Arcane Library intends to continue to do curse scrolls. So I hope so, because they're pretty awesome. And I believe Kelsey has said that they're some of her favorite things to create, which is also awesome. So anyway, if we were to create a character with shadowdarklings.net, and I won't go too deeply into this, but we can just open this up. We can create a character and we can tell it the sources that we want to use. So this is the Bard and the Ranger and the Kobold, B and R and K. Here's where we can turn on scrolls 1, 2, or 3, third-party sources of unnatural selection, and Darcy's, which adds like very interesting ancestries. And it tells you down here, you'll see these all change, right? So the sources initially are just the straight from the core. Then as we start adding, it adds them on. Basically, all of these sources across the top come from the Arcane Library. But once you tell it what you want to include, you can tell it to make a random 1st or 0 level character, depending on what you're running or what your DM's running. If you're a DM and you want to run a gauntlet and you want to give out pre-generated characters, you can generate a bunch of random 0 level characters, and it's awesome. You can tell it if you want it to generate the best fit, mixed, or full random, and then you tell it to generate a random character. Then it's going to name it, give all the information, and you can just scroll all the way to the bottom, and you can save that character, and you can then also copy the JSON to the clipboard, and it tells you the character's been pasted to the clipboard, or copied to the clipboard rather. Tell it okay, close this, and then I'm just going to paste that JSON file. Oh, look, didn't do it. Let's go back and try again here. Let's just generate that character. It's going to be a different character, obviously, because I did not, let's see. Copy to. Character has been copied to the clipboard. Please paste in the Foundry Importer field. All right, let's see. Paste. No. All right, so maybe it's because we're in Foundry. We'll try straight from the web. And see if we get a different result, or perhaps I have to save it. Let's see. Save the character. I shouldn't have to, but we will try one more time just because I'm curious as to why it doesn't work. And yeah, look at that. I wonder if it's how I'm doing it here. Okay. Let's try to export to a JSON file. That's probably not going to work, because then I would have to open the JSON file. Let's open it with Notepad, Control all, copy. Let's come back in and paste. Working around it. Yeah, that worked. Shouldn't have to do that. I would try, and I'll test this, and I'll put it down in the comments after the video's up, or maybe when I post it. But you shouldn't have to do all that. You should just be able to hit the copy to clipboard, come in here and paste it. It's worked well every time I've ever done it, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But here's our character, a glimpse, the kobold fighter who is neutral with an urchin background and worships Geed. So, and that's using the shadowdarklings.net. And you can create, so many characters up there and bring them in, and it's wonderful. Now, here's the create function that's now been built inside of Shadowdark. And this is pretty awesome. So one of the things that you do have to do is you have to go and make sure you have this set up right. So I'm going to go into my configure settings, and I'm going to go to the Shadowdark RPG world settings, right? So this is the game system settings. And right here, we're going to configure the source filters. So it tells you all sources are currently allowed, right? And if we drop this down, you're going to see the core rules, the Bard, the Ranger, and all three of the curse scrolls, as well as unnatural selection and the quick start set. Okay. So what this tells me, the quick start set's in here. Okay. The core rules are not. So that means that they're preparing for them to be. They're preparing for the curse scrolls to be, and unnatural selection is. I backed unnatural selection as a Kickstarter as well. I have the PDF for it, and it absolutely works. And I'll kind of demonstrate that. So when we generate the character, it's going to do the same thing that shadowdarklings.net does. It's going to randomly go through, and it's going to just generate your character. So we should be able to change things like, do we want it to be level 1? Only roll certain things randomly. Like say we roll Griblik and he's a Skurrid, right? Say we don't want to be a Skurrid, so let's try this again, right? Okay, cool, I'll be a Shadow Elf. Change your background, your alignment, all that sort of thing. So it can be as a whole, or it can be an individual piece of the puzzle, like your stats, right? Or your starting gold. Maybe you needed a little bit more money. Of course, work with your DM on this to make sure that, if you're a player, work with your DM on this and make sure that they're cool with it. But if you are a DM, I always am a fan of being able to do things internally and easier. So the last thing I wanted to show you guys today is if you are comfortable with using modules, if you go to Foundry's downloads, and go to import modules, and go look for the Shadowdark PDF Importer. This will make your job of importing monsters so much easier. If I click it right here, you'll find it actually in the settings tab, the Shadowdark PDF Importer. It's a very nice laid out form here. So in the summary, it tells us what's going on. It says you may import unmodified PDFs from official sources only for personal use only. To see which PDFs are supported, select the Supported PDFs tab above. Like the importer, consider supporting me by purchasing one of my Shadowdark products. He's got a link there that goes to his website. And if you're an author of a third party, asking if you're an author of a third party Shadowdark content, he'd love to support your PDF. And you can open an issue over on GitHub, and he'll chat with you and work with you. So supported currently, we have the core rulebook. And it tells you the version it's been tested on. This is super handy. He's got all the curse scrolls, the Monster Mondays, and the Concealed Abbey of the Dragonfly Horde. So these are all core. And then he's got these third-party Letters from the Dark Volume 1 and Letters from the Dark Volume 2. Important to note that this does not import the entire PDF. This is importing all of the monsters from the PDF. So it's basically the monster importer on steroids. Instead of one at a time, you're getting the whole thing, the whole shebang. So it's really worth it in the end. So the monster importer is fantastic when the system first came out, and that was the only way to do it besides manual. But this is the way to go. So let's look at how that works. We're going to choose a file. We'll go to the E drive here and go to the Shadowdark core. And here is the Shadowdark RPG. There we go. Import the PDF. It identified it as the Shadowdark RPG core rulebook. And if we look over here, we're going to see that it is now actively importing all of the monsters from the core book. It puts them in a folder for us. And there you go. There they all are. Every single one of them. And you want to talk about a time saver, man, let me tell you what. I wish that I knew about this probably before I did, and I wish that it had come out at the beginning. Because if you can make a mistake, I'm going to make it. And the first mistake I did was going through and doing some custom work to some tokens with art and things like that, and then updating the Shadowdark system and seeing all that get overwritten, which is not their fault, that's mine. And then I thought I got smart and I created a compendium, but I put the compendium inside the same folder and they did an update. And guess what happened? Gone. So maybe one day I'll talk about how the smart way to do it is to create a shareable compendium at the beginning that's for the system that you can put in there, that you can put your custom stuff into so that it doesn't get overwritten, so you don't have to recreate it 3 times. Anyway, that is that. So next video is going to be next week. We will talk about Phandelver and Below the Shattered Obelisk. We have to go back and finish prepping Phandalin. The party completed their mission in Cragmaw Hideout and they're going to Phandalin, so I got some cool stuff going on there that I need to finish up, and we're gonna get it all ready for them. And then right after that one will be probably Curse of Strahd. I'm probably going to do a couple back-to-back on Curse of Strahd. People seem to like the landing page video I did with the Benios landing page. I use Benios maps pretty significantly. It gives a great feel, so we'll probably go from Phandalin to Ravenloft. So anyway, are you playing Shadowdark RPG? If you are, tell me about your game. Are you playing it in Foundry? How do your players like it? How are you handling the monsters? Are you playing the Cursed Scroll? Are you playing any of the Cursed Scrolls, right? Which one are you playing? How do you find it to be? I don't know, man. Let me know. Give me something to work with down there, okay? And we will be back with you again next week. I'm Greg, Tales from the Pythian. See you next time. Peace.